So we're back on the podcast, Black with Mind podcast. I have another really special guest. Went to high school together, grade school together, middle school together. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, my name is Vontasia Guthrie and I'm 26 now. I went to school with Kent UA University Academy a few years ago, and right now we're just about to do a podcast video on mental health and things of that nature. So.
Yeah. All right, so I wanted to start just by kind of like having a conversation based off of what you were talking about. So you said that a few years ago, if I were to have came to you and tried to ask you to do a podcast and a video and everything, you said that you would have been like, "No, we're just gonna do the audio."
Yeah.
What do you feel like got you to the point where you're comfortable enough to do this, or was it just like I jumped on you with the opportunity because I didn't tell you before this? So was it just the lack of preparation that you was like, forget it, we're gonna do it, or?
It's just trying to be more out there in myself and me, and like I'm good how I am.
Yeah.
And that's just how I wanted to present myself.
Most definitely. I feel like confidence has to come from just not caring. For starters, like most people are unconfident about certain situations because they care too much about what somebody else might think. So you got to not care about what somebody thinks so that you can kind of make decisions a little bit quicker than if if it was on the other end of the spectrum. But I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that we're here. I'm glad we're doing it. This is a good place to do it. I didn't even know this park existed.
Yeah.
So when you suggested it, I was like, wherever it's at, I'll pull up. But I don't even know what that is. So.
Yeah, I like this part.
It's dope. But my first real question for you is kind of centered around just like your upbringing. Obviously, we grew up together essentially.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as to know what are some things that you had to learn growing up as a Black woman, and who did you learn those things from? Take your time.
I was just taught to be strong, really.
What does that look like? Or what did that look like in the examples that you had, or what people were telling
you? Just always keep going.
Yeah.
Just don't ever let life knock you down.
For sure. I feel like that's definitely something that, not just for Black women, but Black men in general. So us as a community, we just learned that off rip. That was something that we had to figure out, even if it wasn't being taught to us, because we don't have an opportunity to kind of be knocked down, quote unquote. But where would you say that your biggest influences were for those type of lessons? Where did they come from?
My mom.
Yeah.
And my grandma.
I feel that.
Most definitely.
Yeah. How do you feel like they handled their struggles when they were growing up?
My grandma, she's the strongest woman I know.
Yeah.
She's what, 83? She's 83. I never seen her cry.
That's crazy.
I never seen my grandma down. I never seen life get to her. And she done outlived so many of our family members, so many grandkids, so many siblings, husbands, best friends. She's still here.
That's crazy.
And I watch her move through life with grace. And she's strong. She just keeps going.
I would want to ask, just so you said that you never seen her cry. Do you feel like that she's just holding on to a lot, or she just isn't affected by it, or how would you feel like she's kind of managing those type of emotions?
I would say that she may just have her own way of dealing with things because I know my grandma is someone that does the work and self-reflect and, read those books and, does the things that needs to be done to heal those aspects of herself. So I don't know. I don't know, but it's just I've always watched her be so strong, and it's just I don't know how she do it.
Yeah, that's tough.
I don't know how get it.
That's definitely tough, but it's admirable though, because I mean, like, it's not something that a lot of people get to witness, especially in those later years. You know, so my grandma passed at 96, and looking back, I can't even say that I've ever seen her cry either. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's been through a lot of hard stuff, a lot of hard life. Same thing. Outgrew a lot of her siblings and some of her kids. But in those moments, like whenever we knew or like heard about somebody passing, I can't remember her shedding a tear. I mean, like, maybe it happened in her solitude, like in her being by herself, but I can't pinpoint, you know, I seen my grandma cry on this day from this situation. And that's kind of like something that just is, I guess, is normal in that generation of time. Like, trying to, because I mean, like, most grandmothers are like the glue to families, so they feel like they gotta keep everything together so that everybody else keep everything together. So I get it. What are some things that you feel like you had to unlearn? Like bad habits that you noticed that weren't necessarily, you know, propelling you in life, so you had to unlearn these habits that you may have been taught, or lessons that you may have been taught.
Victim mode.
Going deeper into that.
The way I grew up, like, it's a lot of stuff that happened, you know. So for a while, I kind of like put it to the back of my head, but then, like, could you repeat the question? Because like my memory kind of.
No, you all good. You all good.
I be forgetting like as I'm talking sometimes.
So the question was basically, what are some habits or some things that you feel like you had to unlearn?
Okay. So I just had to get out of that complex because I was looking for attention that I felt like I wasn't getting, and I didn't get it, and so I went into victim mode, and I went there for a long time, and I seek like attention. I was like shouting in like the wrong direction, so it wasn't really getting me anywhere. So I was like, you know, I was trying to like talk it out, and that wasn't working. And so I was like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then I remember I took that nose trip, and you out there in nature for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I remember you doing that.
Yeah, you out there in nature
crazy.
for 3 weeks, and they, you know, the people I was with, they started noticing things, and I remember someone had mentioned depression to me. I had never really kind of grasped that, and I had even wrote about all this. I kept a journal, I wrote every day, and that's how I remember. But I had never really grasped depression at the time, and I was like, she said I might be depressed. I mean, I don't know, I don't really know what that is. But, you know, as I got older, I had to bring myself up out of that. And that's just what it was. I was in victim mode for a while, and it just wasn't working. That was something that wasn't working. I was seeking like attention and help, and I just had to pull myself up by the bootstraps and just heal.
I feel that. I mean, I can definitely align with that, because the word depression for me, my first connotation, or my first connection to that word was in a financial sense. So like talking about the Great Depression. That's what I thought when I heard the word depression for the first time. Outside of that, I'm like, okay, so what are you talking about? And obviously you were, like you said, you was in nature for 3 weeks, so you didn't have no other type of influence other than who's around you and what's going on in your head. So you just like, you dealing with whatever it is. And I mean, like, that was obviously a great experience for you, because you learned something about yourself that you had no idea that you even needed to learn, let alone something that you was dealing with. So, but you said that you had to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just come up out of those feelings. I guess my question is, you know, how exactly did you go about doing that? Like, you had to come up out of those feelings or heal from it and kind of just deal with whatever it was that you was dealing with. How did you go about doing that?
had got stuck in victim mode so bad that it kind of became part of my ego and part of who I was. And so, I started having negative thoughts, negative thinking, and I didn't like it. And
it was unnatural. You were just like, this ain't right, but it's happening, so something got to change.
Yeah, but that was my whole life.
Oh yeah.
It was my whole life, and I was like, I could. It was basically self-awareness, but I just knew that I didn't like what I was thinking, so I was like, all right, what I'm gonna do is, when I think something bad, I'm gonna think something positive, just like that. That was just my thought process.
Okay.
And I kind of really got out of like the whole victim mode thing, like during really college. I was depressed a lot of those years. Well, the last couple of years, first years was pretty cool, but I had got depression during those years, so I just didn't like what was going on. I didn't like how I was thinking, and I'm like, something gotta change.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just, I'm a problem solver. So that's what I did. I just started replacing those bad thoughts with
just
good thoughts.
Directly battling.
Yeah, and like I kind of didn't even know like what I was doing. I just knew that I didn't like what was going on, and like over 2 or 3 years, like I don't have depression.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have depression. Like that really like healed me from depression. And when I tell you like I was stuck deep, and I really pulled myself up out of there, like I'll tell you anything's possible.
That's real.
Just from that.
That's real. I mean, and that's something that speaking to that is important, because a lot of people feel like once they get into that mindset, there ain't nothing that's gonna get them out of it. And I was one of those people. Like I had, especially like 20, 21, 22, even 24, I was like dealing with depression in a really strong way, and I was just like, like I had started to find out like certain research and reading things and finding stuff out, and I got to a point where it was like, okay, people say that when you're depressed, it's something that you always gonna have to deal with. You just figure out how to manage it, right? And I got to a point where I was like, well, I ain't figured out how to manage it, so this just is what it is. Like, I'm gonna be feeling this way for the rest of my life. And then I got to a point where it was like, okay, either I can feel this way or I can just like take a way out. So that's when the suicidal ideation came out, and it was like, okay, start turning into like, okay, I'm making a plan to get up out of this, because I'm like, I can't figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you found a way to add to your mental flexibility is like really dope, because a lot of people, me being one of those people, couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out unless I had external people helping me along the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you probably did, but you came up with a system that made it a direct impact on your life. Like in that moment, you have a negative thought, and you battle it with a negative one right here. I was like, I have a negative thought, I'm gonna have another one, and I'm gonna have another one, and it just kept on going, because it was like, this is normal. And obviously, you said you were dealing with it basically your whole life, so it turned into like a personality trait, turned into a part of your characteristics, like studious, depressed, this, you know what I'm saying, like that type of descriptive term. And seeing you now and like just having conversations is definitely a difference. I wouldn't have known what the difference was back then, but putting two and two together, being like, okay, this is Vontasia then, this is Vontasia now, this is not the same Vontasia, this is a completely different person, which is something I want to give you your flowers. Like that's really dope. So clap that up for sure. I guess we kind of already answered my third question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. You have had your foot in a lot of different things. Do you feel like the things that you've learned have helped you along in your life journey? So like getting out of your depressive states and getting out of victim mode has allowed you to accomplish certain things?
Yeah. It made me just realize that the power that I already got within me, and that we all got within us,
For sure.
If we just look, and try, and just be aware of who we are, just be in tune with yourself, what you think,
For sure.
what you like, what you don't like. What you don't like, you change.
Yeah.
What you like, you big up yourself for it. You know?
Yeah. That's a big thing. I was just talking to my little brother about it, about this the other day, and I was like, if there's something that you want to change in your life, you can't expect for it to change unless you do. So like, you don't like a circumstance, you have to change yourself for the circumstance to change. And in the Black community especially, it's so normalized to get into victim mode, because I mean, like, we've been dealing with a lot since the beginning of the beginning, you know, like there's stuff that we just can't escape even if we tried, but it dampens the way that we look at ourselves. Like, we look at ourselves as lower because everybody does. Social media makes us feel that way. The news makes us feel that way. I mean, every type of music that's out there kind of makes us feel that way. Even if it is positive, there's still negative aspects to certain things. So it's hard for a lot of people to have a positive connection with themselves. And looking in the mirror is difficult. That's a difficult thing. Looking in the mirror and like accepting certain things is hard. Like, it took me a minute to accept depression as being something that I was dealing with, because I was like, I'm just sad today. I'm gonna go to sleep tonight. I'll be all right tomorrow. But it's not necessarily how depression works. It's one of those. It's an emotion course, but it's also based off of more than just what you're feeling. It's a reason as to why you're feeling it, and if you don't attack the reason, then the feeling won't go anywhere. And that was something that I wasn't. What do you mean? I have to talk about this? Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess, so my next question is, do you feel like growing up people asked you questions about the way that you were feeling, or was it more so kind of just like passive? So like, if they noticed something about you, how are you doing? Was that something that you were getting often?
I don't think I was getting it enough, because just looking back in hindsight and how I acted and just certain things that you just become aware of, it was like, I just kind of did the best with what I had, because I wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting it. And that's why I had to turn to myself.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to get it from somewhere, and the best place to start with anything is always going to be you. You with you all the time. You with you everywhere you go, regardless of whether or not you want to or not. I think it was a song that I was listening to, and it said something about, you know, like, I have to wake up every morning and be me, and that's terrifying. And looking and thinking about that, like, just that phrase in general, it really made me think, like, do I agree with that? Am I scared of what it is that I could be learning about myself? And to a certain extent, I still am for some stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, but getting to a point where you can actually have internal conversations and be truthful, like, with you, is like freeing. Like, you don't have to worry about nothing if you got you. You know what I'm saying? Because then you don't have to worry about, oh, this person falls short. I know I got me though. Like, I know I'm gonna be straight if I got me.
Right.
And for the longest period of time, I couldn't depend on myself for myself. Like, I just couldn't. Do you feel like you are internally dependable? So like, do you make promises to yourself that you're able to keep?
Yeah.
All the time?
Yeah. I mean, no, I kind of actually just got in this cycle, and that's kind of why I just kind of smiled as you said that, because I literally made a post about this. What was this? Monday?
Yeah.
It was Monday, because I just bought a gym membership.
Okay.
Yep. And I got the one where you could bring somebody.
Okay.
And I want to bring my little brother.
Heck yeah.
You know, because he's not really doing sports right now, so he needs to be doing something.
For sure.
And so,
I'm feeling the same way about mine.
So like, what ended up happening was, you know, he went to school and he ended up staying out there for a game. And so I made the post and I was like, we were supposed to go to the gym, but he said he was going to a game, my mind automatically went, well, I guess we ain't going to the gym. I guess I ain't going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, so I just sat there the rest of my work shift like, damn, am I going? Am I not?
Yeah.
Am I going? And so when I got off work, I just drove straight there, and I was just telling my people, I said, it's about keeping those promises to yourself. I said when I left, I felt stronger, like a champion. I said it ain't because I got in the gym. It's because I told myself I was going to do something, and I did it.
Yeah.
I haven't worked out. I ain't been in the gym in years. You feel me? So, and I fast a lot.
Yeah.
I fast often, so, you know, we got to do something.
Yeah.
So, I was just making a post about that. So, that's crazy. But I was like, yeah, it's all about keeping those promises to yourself. It builds self-worth, self-respect.
Yeah.
It ups the value in yourself. You know,
For sure.
You gotta keep those promises to yourself, and you can't be out here giving your word to everybody but yourself.
That's real. I feel like women are real big on keeping promises to other people because typically women are like nurturers, caregivers, whatever the case may be. So they usually take the back burner in most aspects. Like you have a little brother, so you probably feel obligated to keep promises to him over yourself originally. And that's something that I wanted you to speak to a little bit. So like growing up, like what's the difference between you and your little brother?
10 years apart.
10 years apart. See,
yeah.
Me and my little brother are 11 years apart.
Yeah.
So it's the same time frame essentially. Do you feel like you kind of like had to parent him to a certain extent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about that? Is that something that you like was ready to take on? Because that obviously that means you got to grow up a little faster.
I mean, it wasn't like full on parent like that.
Yeah,
but
like,
it's like just hey, wake up for school and do this and do that, and sometimes cooking. But it wasn't like full on mother mode, But I did, help guide them to try to do the right thing.
For sure.
I got older.
Yeah, as an older sibling should, kind of just lay in the framework, especially when the age range is so big. You gotta kind of, okay, so this is how not to bump your head, and this is what you do if you do bump your head. That's something that is real. But I mean, the fact that you've gotten to a point where you can, I mean, like you said a mouthful. A lot of the stuff that you were talking about, like keep promises to yourself and making sure that it ups your self-respect, ups your self-worth, ups your self-value. That's real big. That's real big. Because I mean, that's tough. That's a tough thing to do on a spectrum of not just man versus women, but just in general, especially within the black community. Like I was saying, like our value is compromised from jump. You don't have to do nothing to be looked at as lesser than another person. You just have to exist, and that's something that's like, okay, so you a kid, you already combat the system just because. And obviously, I know like we grew up in the same environments, like spaces and even neighborhoods. So like getting to the point where we at right now is like, who would have thought? You know what I'm saying? Like, who would have thought you would have the type of mindset coming from those type of situations? So, I mean, it's only up from here. Ain't nowhere else you can go but up from here.
I ain't cracked the code.
I swear, and it's a code that needed to be cracked because I definitely feel like the best thing that I could do for myself and my siblings, like my little brother or even my older siblings, is to keep more promises to myself because it allows me the space to be authentic around them instead of like jumping around the topic or not talking about the elephant in the room. Instead, I can I'm gonna be who I am, and whatever happens after that is just gonna happen. Do you feel like you have any issues with authenticity? I feel like you're doing it all. I feel like you're just being you, and that is what it is.
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah,
okay.
I do. But I'm slowly getting out of that.
I feel you.
I've been judged my whole life.
Okay.
Like, and then just it doesn't have to be like something drastic. It could be like a painting that was judged on, or like a performance or a writing piece or something. So it's like, okay, as a child, like as you were saying, like we already ridiculed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, when I try to express myself and I'm still judged, it's like,
On
okay,
top of everything
yeah,
else.
let me go back in my shell. Is it safe yet? Nah. Let me go back in my shell. Wait, is it safe? Nah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's like I got to a point. I'm like coming out of that shell, and I'm probably never gonna be back in there.
Nah, it's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Because then you're trapped in this space with all these thoughts that are not yours.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just ruminating and they're getting bigger, and the thoughts that are yours are just kind of getting smaller and smaller as time continues to pass. So like the fact that you've gotten to a point where, I mean, like that self-awareness is big too. Like you being able to be like, you know what, yeah, I do struggle with authenticity to a certain extent, but being able to make sure that you're in spaces that allow you to have healthy attachments helps your authenticity too. So do you feel like your reformation of who you are has kind of challenged some of your relationships, whether they be like romantic, whether it be just friends or even family even? Do you feel like you kind of had to push some people to the left a little bit so you can kind of focus on this next chapter or this next space that you're about to be in?
Yeah.
How's that been?
Everybody away.
Yeah.
It wasn't no single person that got, that came with me.
Yeah.
I pushed everybody away because it was like I got tired. I got tired of a lot.
Yeah.
So I was just like, shit, I'm gonna just be cool with me.
Yeah.
For a minute,
scratch,
let me get back to me and figure out who I am, what I like to do, what I think,
For sure.
what I'm interested in. So it was like I had to be with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Like if you wasn't family,
and
even family, like,
some of them gotta go.
And it was nothing personal. Yeah. It wasn't personal. It was like I was too cloudy. I didn't know who the hell I was because I had everybody else's thoughts and judgments about me in my head. I couldn't even be myself. I couldn't even be authentic. Like I was me, but it was like I couldn't fully be me because when I tried to, it was like she doing this, she doing that, and it was like, yeah.
So I gotta push you off so I can go back to being me again. At some point, it takes time, obviously, but I mean, something that my therapist has said to me. He was like, the journey to healing is a lonely one, especially in the beginning. So like when you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I'm tired of what this is. I'm tired of this singular reality. I gotta change it. There are people that are used to it, used to you being whatever way you are, so it's gonna be resistance. And either you can relapse and be like, you know what, I'm falling line. Or you can just be like, you know what, you have to move around. I personally have done I'm a fall in line multiple times with multiple people. Like, dang, this relationship or this friendship is not going the way that I wanted to. But I'm gonna keep trying. What am I trying for? You know what I'm saying? Like, we done did this dance already. There's no point in continuing. These steps is done. So I mean, and that's partially why like I wanted to really have you on the podcast, because I noticed certain things based off of just like what I was seeing just on your social media in general. So I was like, let me reach out and let's have a conversation. But I wanted it to be like something that you wanted to do. I wanted it to be something that you was comfortable doing, because otherwise it's not authentic. You know what I'm saying? If I'm like pushing something onto you that you didn't want to do, it's not even a thing. So I'm appreciative that you got to this point, or you got into this point.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's dope.
I was just about to say it. Like, this is a whole dope concept.
It really is.
And another thing is like, I had to learn this a few months ago, like this year.
Yeah.
Don't dim your light for nobody.
At all.
Like, don't dim your light for no one, because in the end, you're gonna wish you didn't do that anyway. You're minimizing yourself. You're not being yourself. You're not being authentic because you're scared to get judged, or you're scared like these people won't like me for who I am, or they'll leave. They're gonna leave regardless.
Yeah.
You're not being you. They're gonna leave regardless. So it's like, you could do all you can, to just hide that side of you, that authenticity or whatever. But it's like, just be you, because then you're gonna have the right people around you. you know, and it's just gonna be all good vibes.
I've gotten to that point because I've definitely like reformed my circle of people, but it wasn't even on purpose.
Yeah.
It was more so just like I didn't necessarily say like I'm gonna stop messing with you.
Yeah.
It was just like I'm doing different things and we ain't doing the same thing no
Yeah.
more. And then you just stop hearing from people and you just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna try to
Yeah.
fix whatever that was. I'm just gonna keep on moving.
It was just like I said, it wasn't really personal. I just needed to get away from a lot of clutter.
Yeah.
Friends, family, everything. I just needed to figure out who I am, what I like, you know, and that took a while.
For
it
sure.
took a long time because I got rid of old people and there's still new people coming into my life. It's not like I just got rid of everybody. Like, I'm still meeting people, you know, I'm still making connections. And so then you got to discern between that, like, what's going on? Like, I mean, are they for me? Are they not? You know,
what's the motive?
Yeah, like just going based off vibes, you know, just to make sure you're getting into like healthy connections and
for
things
sure.
of that sort. But yeah, it was definitely challenging.
It's a whole mess load of stuff that comes with all of that. I mean, stuff that asked me 3 years ago. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all foreign to me.
Yeah.
So it's like, at this point, we're having a certain level of understanding on some of these topics is kind of, it's refreshing, but at the same time, it's kind of scary. You know what I'm saying? Because I do struggle with like, all right, I'm gonna be by myself, because most of my challenging situations have come from me being alone. So like, I'm trying to like understand and be okay with that, like being by myself. That's fine. Being in a space that you're by yourself in is okay. And not reverting back to those negative thoughts, like, okay, I'm by myself, that means ain't nobody messing with me. Okay, if ain't nobody messing with me, then that means that something got to be wrong with me. And if something wrong with me, then what is it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that line of thinking is something that can definitely take a lot of people down the rabbit hole, the proverbial rabbit hole. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't go down it, but also people around me can kind of recognize when they are. You know, like, I feel like I'm slipping. You need to be able to recognize that before you slip, not after.
Right.
Because after is usually too late, you know? So, I mean, it's a good spot to be in. And I feel like we're at the bottom of a hill, climbing right back up, but like in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Like, not down, but going up. And that's a good spot to be in, because there's so much growth that can happen. There's so much stuff that can happen in between that. So, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have any more questions. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before, or anything that you might want to say as like a last statement before we end it?
I just want to say, like, I chose nature because, like, this is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And there's a stigma behind that in the Black community. Like, we're not supposed to be outside, you know, in the outdoors or near the woods. And, like, they lied. They lied. Like, people don't be out here jogging and, you know, chilling for no reason. It's nice. It's peaceful. Like, it resets, you know, your nervous system. Like, we're talking about mental health right here. So, like, if you stressed or something, you need to come outside and just walk through nature.
Let the sun hit you a little bit.
It's different than walking down the block. You walking where all this infrastructure, all these, it's not the same.
All this noise.
Yeah, it's not the same. Like, you're gonna come here and you're gonna recharge.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel good.
I mean, I was talking when I got here. I was talking about that. We were talking about that just a little bit on the walk over here, and I was like, I had no idea. I drive up and down past this area all the time. I had no idea something like this exists. It's a fireplace right here. We're outside. That's crazy. That don't even make sense. But I definitely agree with that, because some of my most peaceful places are outside. I have a couple of peaceful places that are inside, you know, buildings, but the most is gonna be outside for sure.
Yeah, and of course, just always make sure you're safe. Pay attention to your surroundings.
For sure. Don't walk around with headphones.
Just be aware. You know, but we definitely need to be out here.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. Definitely. I appreciate you being on the podcast and doing the video aspect too, because I kind of just popped that up on you
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we got
Yeah,
here.
and I was like,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah, I guess y'all could just see me while I'm chilling.
Yeah, chilling, natural, for real.